Hi everybody, Gary Williams here for Toolbarn.com's Barn Banter, and today we're going to do something just a little bit different. I want you to take a trip back in time with me, back into the late 1870s, and picture Thomas Edison working in his workshop. He's probably working on the stereo or something, and he calls up to his wife Mary upstairs and says, "Hey Mary, it's getting dark down here. Would you turn on the lights? I kind of got my hands full." And she says, "Well, I would, Thomas, but you haven't invented the light bulb yet. Why don't you knock off the work on the record player and get to work on something really important?" And Thomas says, "Okay, it's no problem. This is so easy I can do it in the dark." So he grabs his trusty circular saw and goes to work cutting the wood he needs to cut. Oh, I cut myself! Oh! Seriously, proper lighting is one of the most important considerations you can have when it comes to working with power tools, whether you're sawing, drilling, no matter what you're doing, you want to be able to see what you're doing so that you finish a project with as many fingers as you had when you actually began the project. That seems to be a pretty important thing to me anyway. So we're going to show you some very nice lights today. Some work with some of the cordless tool systems that you might already have. We're going to show you what's called a wobble light. That's actually this thing right here. A wobble light and a really cool LED light that are great for job site work or for things that you may be doing at home. But first, we're going to get into the different kind of lights that have evolved over the past few years and try to shed a little light on what has become kind of a confusing topic. So stay with us. We're back, and this time we're with Professor Markham from Toolbarn University, and Professor Markham is going to kind of go into the lighting landscape for us because things have changed over the past few years thanks to stricter federal energy standards for lighting. And you're going to explain some of these lighting devices to us, and we're going to talk a little bit about what's changed and what people might want to look for, whether it's in the home or for work applications, right?
Yep, that's correct.
Where should we start? How about
Let's
this little
start
puppy?
with the halogen bulb. The halogen bulb was invented in 1959 by this guy, Elmer Frederick.
You think he was a happy man?
I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope so.
Yeah, I like the bow tie. I've never had one.
It is
like
nice.
That. Yeah, it is. That's cool. Okay.
So here's an example of one of Elmer's inventions here. This is a halogen light. This is a really great light. It's incredibly bright. It makes a very white light. But the problem with these is they're very, very hot.
Right.
They are a little bit more efficient than just the standard incandescent bulb, but like
about 30% or so, I think, is what I hear.
30%.
Yep.
They are really hot though. Here is an example of how hot these actually get. This cord was hanging in front of this light while it was on and just melted right through. So yeah, you have to be really careful with these type of bulbs. They just get really hot.
All right.
We've also got the CFL. So this is a compact fluorescent light. These are even more energy efficient. We've also got the LED, which is even more energy efficient than the CFL even. These are great because they have a very, very long life, and they produce a very, very bright light as well.
And you can get these in configurations that pretty much replicate the tungsten type of bulb. They're a lot more expensive, but they look like the tungstens. They're dimmable, which a lot of the CFLs, there's some question about how dimmable they actually are. So if you're using them in your home, you might want to think about that, right?
Yep. And these are cool, where the halogen light is really hot. The LEDs are very cool.
Oh, you mean cool as in temperature-wise,
right?
As opposed to cool. Now this is kind of a cool. That's kind of a cool looking light. I think it's cool. You know, all these changes do change the way you buy for bulbs. Now, we've got a little chart here. I'm sure we'll put this on screen full. But it used to be every time I went to the store to buy light bulbs, I looked for 40, 60, 75, 100 watt bulbs for the house, and you had what lamps you were going to put them in, and they were all dimmable, and it was a piece of cake. That's not the way it's going to be, or not the way it is now anymore, correct? You got to look for different things, lumens. So you look for the lumens. The higher the lumen, the brighter the bulb, correct? And you see how this translates. You got if you got 100, you got a 1600 lumen bulb. That's the equivalent of 100 watts in an incandescent or 16 to 20 watts in an LED. So you can see the efficiency of these compared the LEDs to the incandescent bulbs. A lot more efficient. So that's what we've got for you right now. We'll have more later. Thanks. One of the things that we recommend is that if you have an investment in an existing tool system, and it's a good system, many of the major manufacturers We suggest that you stick with that because in most cases you can find a light that will use the batteries for the other tools that you already have, and I'm going to show you some of the examples. For example, Makita. That drill has obviously a removable battery that'll slide right into this flashlight. And this flashlight's really handy. It's with this battery, you've got about a 5-hour charge. Like a lot of these utility flashlights, it's got an adjustable head and it sets down well on the ground. And we've also got this little baby from DeWalt. Now this is an LED bulb. I'm not going to shine that directly into the camera because I don't want to blind everybody, especially our cameraman here. But again, you've got an adjustable beam. It rotates, it swivels, and I'll tell you one nice thing about this is it's magnetic, so you can put it, well actually you can put it on a saw if you want to and just cut away in the dark. I wouldn't recommend that you do that, but I mean you could if you really wanted to. No, seriously though, these kind of magnetic devices, magnetic flashlights are good for if you're working on your car or other type of equipment where you've got metal and you need to just get your hands free. You can hang this thing on the hood of a vehicle or whatever you're working on. It's also got a belt clip, so you could clip it onto something if you really wanted to do that too. Very convenient, very good beam, very bright beam, and a very small profile, so really easy to handle. Milwaukee, of course, has its version as well. This particular one is an LED beam, and it works off Milwaukee batteries that fit in other Milwaukee tools. Now, this flashlight is very similar to the first, except this has a xenon bulb. So, similar configurations, similar flexibility with the heads on these things, just different kinds of bulbs. So, you can pick whichever one you like, and just for the record, these two are magnetic, so very convenient to handle. I'm going to show you next this little baby from Milwaukee. Now this thing is obviously it's a fuel-powered drill. You pull the battery out of there and shield your eyes when I turn this thing on because it's bright. I won't point it right into the camera, but this thing uses the same battery as the drill, and it really puts out a great workspace light for you. If that's what you're into and you're working at night, you're in a dark room or whatever, you know, and that happens a lot when you're doing construction or any kind of work where you may just not have power to something. Great tool, great brightness, great features. You can really see a lot of what you're doing, and that's so important when you're working with power tools, right? Just for safety's sake. So we don't just have cordless options. We've got some really nice corded options as well, and we're going to show you those right now. We've got a nice transition from the DeWalt cordless options into a DeWalt a light that's actually a fluorescent light, and this is really a nice one. It'll put out a lot of lumens. Wait a minute. Obviously, this also runs off of a battery as well as a cord. Yeah, I'm going to show you that. You know, it'll take a DeWalt 18-volt battery, so you can pop this thing right out of your drill, pop it right into the back of your lamp, turn that thing on, and it'll light it up. Or you can also plug it in to AC power, wall power, and it'll work that way too. And when you have it plugged in like that, there's something else that you can do with this thing. It's got a couple of outlets on the back, so if you need to, you can plug another device into that, and you can run that off AC as well. So it's really a nice, versatile tool. It's got a lot of stuff that you can do with it, so it's something that you ought to carefully consider if you need kind of the best of both worlds. This work light from Coleman Cable is really a very nice light. It's got a single LED bulb, puts out a lot of illumination, you know, and it's cool to the touch, and that's a big selling point over maybe the halogen. I'm going to show you this one here side by side. Now this has the halogen bulb. They both put out light, but I'll tell you what, this one will stay a whole lot cooler, and if you accidentally touch it, it's not going to burn your hand off. If this one heats up pretty good, I mean, you can feel the heat on the front of the glass for just this short period of time that it's been on. So generally, if you want safety, if you want energy efficiency, you'll probably want to go with an LED bulb. And this thing is really effective. It's got a lot of adjustments, both up and down. You can adjust this thing just about anywhere. And you know, if you're going to set it on the floor or on a work table or any place, and you're accidentally knocking things over like I occasionally do, This just seems to be a safer option, so give this one a shot. You'll really like this light. This is called the wobble light, and I'll tell you what's nice about this thing is, as you can see, now I could knock it off the table and break it, but typically you can bump into this thing and it'll pretty much go right back to the position that it was in, and it's got a lot of nice stability. It sheds great illumination. It uses a compact fluorescent bulb. So you get a lot of workspace lighting out of this thing and a lot of stability, and it's really a nice light to have. So we've got a bunch of great lights for you at Toolbarn.com. Whether you need the cordless variety, the corded variety, no matter what you need, we've got them. So take a look at Toolbarn.com. Brighten your life, brighten your workspace just a little bit, okay? Hey, thanks for being with us, and we hope to see you next time.